Hey, my name's Lauren, and welcome back to Students at Hope Online. Today, I'm going to be speaking about the story of Jonah and how God melted the hearts of the Ninevites. So let's get into it. In Jonah 1:2, God says to Jonah, "Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me." At the time, Nineveh was the capital of the Assyrian Empire, a kingdom famous for rampant sin and brutal military tactics. The Assyrians also had overrun Israel and conquered it. Jonah wasn't fond of the city and disobeyed God by running in the opposite direction of Nineveh. Jonah let fear drive his decision instead of having faith in God. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. I recently got my permit, and driving on the hilly country roads is a lot like faith. When you are driving up a hill, you can't see the road ahead, but you trust it's there. God's road for our lives isn't going to be a straight shot. There's going to be hills, but we can't lose faith in God when the hills come. Jonah went aboard a ship and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and a violent storm arose. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. The sea was getting rougher and rougher. So they asked Jonah, "What should we do to make the sea calm down for us?" He said, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to God, and the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. God then gave the command to preach to the Ninevites a second time. This time, Jonah obeys. Jonah went to the city and told the Ninevites, 40 more days, and Nineveh will be overthrown. Even though God had to give Jonah the same commandment more than once, that didn't invalidate his voice. God can use anyone to further his kingdom. We are only his messengers. It isn't about us as a person or our qualifications. It's about letting God's voice speak through you. When Jonah's warnings reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. This is the proclamation he issued in Nineveh. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flocks, taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Who knows? God may yet relent and with compassion turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish. When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring upon them the destruction he had threatened. God shows us never-ending mercy. Mercy means lenient or compassionate treatment. The Ninevites did not deserve God's forgiveness, but we are his children, and he treats us with compassion. Hebrews 4:16 says, "Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." So in conclusion, what I love about this story is God is not a God of destruction, but he has to take drastic measures sometimes to get us to listen. I challenge you this week to read the book of Jonah and meditate on how you can choose faith over fear. Now I have some questions and a journal prompt for you guys for home. Number 1, why did God allow Jonah to run away from what he commanded him to do? Number 2, do we deserve God's mercy? Number 3, does it matter what your qualifications are to impact others for God's kingdom? And number 4, is there something God is calling you to do that is making you afraid? If so, pray about it right now. Thanks so much for watching this message at Students at Hope Online. We'll see you next time.